Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something I think a lot of you are interested in, omega-3s.
Uh-huh.
We got a review from one of you for this omega-3 premium fish oil product.
Okay.
So we're going to break down everything from like the basics of these essential fatty acids to like what makes this product tick.
Right.
And hopefully by the end you'll know if this is the right supplement for you.
Sounds good.
Honestly, like I've been hearing about omega-3s forever, but like sorting through all the noise to get to like the actual facts, it can be a lot.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a crowded market out there.
Yeah.
But this review, it actually seems pretty thorough, which is great.
Right.
Like, it goes beyond just saying how great it is. It looks into the sourcing, the manufacturing, even what customers are saying.
Exactly, and that's what I like about it. So
Yeah.
like, let's start with the basics.
Right.
Like, we all know omega-3s are good for us, but like, what is it that makes them so essential?
Well, the key is that our bodies, they can't make these fatty acids themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we have to get them from our diet or from supplements.
Okay.
And they're not just like some random nutrient. They're actually part of our cell membranes. They influence inflammation.
Wow.
They even affect how our brains work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they're like pretty important.
Definitely.
Okay. So this specific product, it focuses on two types of omega-3s, EPA and DHA.
Right.
What makes those two stand out from the rest of the omega-3 family?
Well, you can think of them as having their own special talents.
Okay.
EPA, that's the one that's really good at fighting inflammation.
Okay.
It helps lower those triglycerides, the things that are bad for your heart.
Uh-huh.
And then DHA, that's like food for your brain.
Okay.
Super important for brain development and maybe even protecting your brain as you get older.
So it's not just about like general brain power, it's about specific things that affect like our everyday life.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm starting to see why you'd want both of those in a supplement.
Yeah.
This product, it says it has a lot of both EPA and DHA, but the review, it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
It goes on and on about all these potential benefits.
Yeah, and that's where we got to be careful.
Okay.
The review talks about heart health. But what does that even mean?
Right.
It's got to be more than just feeling good, right?
Hmm.
Well, studies have shown that EPA and DHA can actually lower blood pressure,
Oh, wow.
improve cholesterol levels, even help keep your heart rhythm steady.
So we're talking about real measurable impacts on your heart.
Exactly. It's not just hype.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And what about the brain benefits they talk about?
Yeah.
It's more than just like feeling sharper, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's some early research that suggests DHA might help protect your brain from decline as you age.
Really?
Yeah, and even for younger people, studies have shown it can help with memory, focus, even your mood.
That's wild.
And it's all because of how DHA affects the way brain cells talk to each other.
It's amazing how these little things can have such a big impact.
I know, it's fascinating.
The review also mentions something about joint support,
Uh-huh.
which is something I'm personally interested in.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with the anti-inflammatory power of EPA we were talking about?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
You see, inflammation is often the root cause of a lot of joint problems.
Oh, okay.
And studies have shown that EPA can help manage pain and stiffness, especially for conditions like osteoarthritis.
Interesting.
So, understanding how these things work is really important.
Yeah, it definitely helps you separate the real stuff from the marketing fluff.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, the review really emphasizes how this product uses sustainably harvested anchovies
Right.
to, minimize the risk of heavy metals.
Uh-huh.
Is that a real concern with fish oil?
It's a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
Larger fish, the ones higher up the food chain, they tend to accumulate more toxins like mercury.
Oh, okay.
Using smaller fish like anchovies, that's a smart way to reduce that risk.
That makes sense. It's like choosing the right ingredients for a recipe. It matters what you start with.
Exactly.
They also talk about this rigorous third-party testing, which sounds like a good thing.
It's definitely encouraging.
Yeah.
Having independent tests can confirm the purity and potency of the supplements so you know you're getting what you paid for.
Right.
Transparency is so important, especially when there are so many options out there.
Okay, so we've got good ingredients, but what about how it's actually made?
Yeah.
They mentioned something called molecular distillation,
Uh-huh.
which sounds pretty high-tech. Does that actually affect the final product?
Well, it's a fancy way of saying they use heat and pressure to purify and concentrate the omega-3s.
Oh, okay.
You can think of it like a really high-tech filter that gets rid of anything you don't want.
Okay.
And they say they follow good manufacturing practices, too.
That's good.
So it seems like they're serious about quality control.
Yeah, like they've put some real thought and effort into making a good product.
Exactly, not just throwing something together.
But even with good ingredients and a good process, I know a lot of people are put off by fish oil because of, well, the fishiness.
I get it.
The review talks about that, though.
Oh, yeah.
They say these are small, easy-to-swallow soft gels,
Okay.
and that there's no fishy aftertaste, which seems to be a common worry.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds like they've really thought about the person taking it, not just the science behind it.
Right, which is important.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
you're not going to take it regularly, what's the point, right?
Exactly.
And speaking of taking it, the review has tons of positive feedback from customers.
Uh-huh.
People are raving about more energy, thinking more clearly, even less joint pain.
It's amazing how those personal stories often match up with what the science is telling us about omega-3s.
Right.
But it's important to remember that everyone's different, so what works for one person might not work for another.
That's true. You got to take those glowing reviews with a grain of salt.
Definitely.
One thing that stood out to me is the price. You get 100 soft gels in a bottle, and the price is pretty competitive, especially considering how strong and pure it is.
Yeah. From a cost perspective, it seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, I think we should look at some other options and address some common concerns.
Yeah, let's explore all the possibilities. That's what this deep dive is all about, right?
Exactly. There's more to uncover here.
Okay, well, I'm already learning a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got even more to share.
I do.
So let's jump right into part 2.
Sounds good. All right. So before we, jump back into this particular fish oil product, I think it's good to kind of zoom out a bit and look at the whole world of omega-3s.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's easy to get caught up in the specifics of one thing
Right.
without seeing the whole picture.
Yeah, definitely.
So while this fish oil, seems pretty promising,
Uh-huh.
it's not the only way to get EPA and DHA. Those are the ones we want.
Right.
Some folks, they might prefer krill oil, which comes from these tiny little crustaceans.
Krill. Okay.
Yeah, it's another good source of omega-3s. And it also has this thing called astaxanthin.
Astaxanthin.
Yeah, it's a powerful antioxidant.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I've heard of krill oil,
Uh-huh.
but what are the pros and cons compared to fish oil? Well, krill oil, it tends to be a bit pricier.
Okay.
And the research on it is still kind of in its early stages.
Okay.
But some studies suggest that it might be easier for your body to absorb
Oh, interesting.
compared to fish oil.
Okay.
And that astaxanthin, that could give you an extra boost of antioxidants.
So it's kind of a trade-off then.
Yeah, you weigh the potential benefits against the cost.
Right.
Now, what about folks who are vegetarian or vegan?
Yeah, good point.
Are there plant-based ways to get omega-3s? Absolutely.
Okay, good.
There's algae oil, which is a great source of DHA,
Okay.
and it's getting more and more popular.
Yeah.
Algae is actually where fish get their omega-3s from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like going straight to the source.
That's fascinating. So even if you don't eat fish, you can still benefit.
Exactly.
But is algae oil as effective as fish oil?
Well, that's where it gets a little tricky.
Oh.
Most algae oils, they're mostly DHA
Okay.
with not as much EPA.
Oh.
So if you're really looking for a lot of EPA, fish oil might be the way to go.
I see. So it depends on what you're after.
Yeah, it really depends on your needs and what you're trying to achieve.
Okay, so it sounds like choosing the right omega-3 source really comes down to the individual person.
Exactly.
But are there any downsides to supplementing with omega-3s in general?
That's a good question.
Like, can you have too much of a good thing?
Yeah, it's always good to think about that.
Yeah.
So omega-3s are generally safe, but if you take too much,
Okay.
it could upset your stomach or thin your blood a bit.
Oh, okay.
So it's best to start with a smaller dose
Okay.
and talk to your doctor first, especially if you're on any meds or have health issues.
That makes sense. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. It's about being smart and informed,
Yeah.
not just jumping on the supplement bandwagon.
Right, right.
And let's not forget about sustainability.
Oh, yeah, good point.
This fish oil product, they talk about sustainable sourcing, which is great,
Yeah.
but overfishing is a real problem.
Right.
So it's really important to choose products that are doing things the right way.
Yeah, definitely.
That brings us back to the product we're talking about today.
Okay.
They say they use sustainable harvested anchovies, but how do we know that's true?
Right. Good question.
That's where certifications and third-party verification come in.
Okay.
You should look for labels like the Marine Stewardship Council
Yeah.
or MSC certification.
Yeah, MSC. Okay.
That means the fish were caught in a way that protects the environment.
So it's about doing your homework.
Yeah. And looking beyond the marketing claims,
Right.
this review, it doesn't mention any certifications specifically,
Okay.
but they do talk a lot about sustainability and being transparent.
Yeah, that's true.
And remember that third-party testing we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
That can help make sure the product is pure and strong so you know you're getting your money's worth.
Okay, so it seems like there's a lot to consider when choosing an omega-3 supplement.
Yeah, definitely.
From where it comes from and how it's processed to the types and amounts of EPA and DHA.
Right.
It's not just a one-size-fits-all thing.
It's all about understanding what you need,
Mm-hmm.
doing your research, and choosing a product that fits your values.
I like that. Okay, so speaking of individual needs,
Yeah.
let's dive into some common questions and concerns people have about omega-3s.
Okay. Sounds good.
The review does a good job of addressing some of these.
Uh-huh.
And I know you've got some great insights to share as well.
I'm happy to share what I know.
Okay, let's get into it. All right, so we've talked about the science behind omega-3s, looked at different sources, and even touched on some potential downsides. Now, let's get to those questions and concerns that people often have. I think this is where the review really shines.
Yeah. It does a great job of covering those practical things people think about. One of the big ones is side effects.
Right.
The review says most people handle this fish oil just fine. But what about those who might be a bit more sensitive?
Yeah, not everyone reacts the same way to every supplement.
Exactly. Omega-3s are generally considered safe, but if you take a really high dose,
Okay.
you might get some digestive issues like nausea, diarrhea, or even those fishy burps.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about those.
Yeah, so starting with a lower dose and gradually increasing it can really help with that.
It's kind of like starting a new workout routine.
Right.
You don't want to go too hard too fast.
Exactly. And speaking of starting out, I bet a lot of people wonder how long it takes before they actually notice any benefits from omega-3s.
That's definitely something I was curious about. Like, do you feel it right away?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it more of a, gradual thing?
Well, the review says most people start seeing improvements within like 4 to 6 weeks of taking it consistently.
Okay.
But everyone's body's different, right?
Right.
So things like your diet, lifestyle, and overall health, those can all play a role in how quickly you feel the benefits.
So it's not a quick fix. It's more about adding something good to your routine and letting it do its thing over time.
Exactly. It's about the long game. Now, another thing people worry about is interactions with medications. This is where talking to your doctor is super important.
Especially for people taking blood thinners, right?
Yeah, that's a big one. Omega-3s can thin your blood a bit.
Okay.
So you want to make sure there are no conflicts with any meds you're taking.
It all comes down to good communication with your doctor.
Absolutely.
They can help you figure out the risks and benefits and the right dose for you.
Right. Speaking of dosage, this product recommends 2-3 soft gels a day.
Oh, eh?
Is that like a standard recommendation for all fish oil supplements?
I'm not sure. I imagine it might depend on how much EPA and DHA is in each one.
You're right. The best dose can vary based on what you need and what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks might need more to see the effects, while others might be good with less.
Gotcha.
It's always best to follow the directions and check with your doctor if you're unsure.
So it's not one size fits all.
Nope. Now let's talk about something specific to this product, the fish gelatin.
Okay.
Some people might wonder why they use fish gelatin instead of the usual bovine or porcine gelatin.
Yeah. The review explains that fish gelatin is good for pescatarians and anyone who avoids bovine or porcine products for religious or dietary reasons.
Right.
They also mention that fish gelatin is often hypoallergenic, which is good news for those with sensitivities.
It's interesting how even a small detail like that can make a difference for different people.
Yeah, it shows they've thought about a wider range of needs.
It does. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's good to come back to that big question we touched on earlier. How could adding omega-3s, whether through this fish oil or another source, impact your overall well-being?
Yeah, it's more than just taking a supplement, right? It's about understanding the potential benefits and how they could help you live a healthier and happier life.
Exactly.
Huh.
We talked about the possible benefits for your heart, your brain, your joints, even your mood. But beyond those specific things, it's about recognizing that omega-3s are essential building blocks for a healthy body and mind.
Right.
They support us on a fundamental level, and that's worth thinking about.
It's like giving your body the tools it needs to thrive. And as we've learned today, choosing the right omega-3 supplement, like this fish oil or one of the alternatives, is a personal journey that requires some careful thought.
I agree. It's about doing your research, understanding your own needs, and picking a product that matches your values and goals.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about omega-3s and this fish oil. I hope you, our listener, feel more informed and ready to make a decision that's right for you.
I hope so too.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration.